As we continue to mark Mental Health Awareness Month this May, today we are spotlighting a mother whose son, Jarad Anthony Higgins, known around the world as Juice WRLD, died in 2019.
She is 55 years old, and honestly, the life she is living right now feels almost impossible to believe. Picture a woman who spent years raising her kids mostly by herself in a quiet Chicago suburb, working nonstop, holding the household together, doing everything a single mother has to do alone. And then imagine her waking up every morning inside one of the priciest homes ever sold in that entire region. A 17,000 square foot estate sitting on a private cul-de-sac, surrounded by acres of land, in a neighborhood where former pro athletes are literally her neighbors. And that is only where the story starts, because beyond the real estate, she now controls one of the most valuable music estates in modern hip-hop history. An estate connected to a catalog deal multiple industry insiders have reported at well over $200 million. She now decides the direction of a posthumous career that keeps pulling in millions every year. She built a non-profit foundation completely from scratch. She launched a business in her hometown. She sits on boards. She shows up at major events. She negotiates high-stakes deals, all while quietly carrying a grief most people could never survive. Here's the truly shocking part. None of this was planned. She never signed up for any of it. Everything she is living through right now traces back to one devastating night in December 2019 that flipped her entire world upside down forever. And once you understand the full picture, once you see every layer of what she actually inherited, what she personally built, and how she truly lives day to day, you will finally understand exactly why this video carries the title it does. So stick around, because this story goes far deeper than you think. Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back. Before we jump in, let me quickly catch you up on exactly who we're talking about, because not everyone watching knows the full background here. The woman at the center of this jaw-dropping story is the mother of one of the most streamed artists in the history of hip-hop. Her son was a Chicago kid who built a massive following on SoundCloud as a teenager, then exploded into a genuine global superstar in under 2 years. He was only 21 at the absolute peak of his career, and then suddenly, he was gone. When he passed away, he left behind a music catalog so valuable it eventually sold for a reported 9 figures. She inherited that entire estate. She became the executive in charge of everything he had built. And in the years since, she has turned it into something far bigger than most people imagine when they hear the word inheritance. It is not just money. It is a business. It is a mission. It is a lifestyle most outsiders can barely wrap their heads around. Her name is Carmela Wallace. Her son was Jarad Anthony Higgins. The world knew him as Juice WRLD. And this right here is her full, shocking story. Now, before we dive into this wild ride, let me be completely real with you. A lot of people see a headline like this and instantly assume, oh, she just cashed in after her son died and now she's living the high life. That's the surface level take. That's what gets the clicks. But we're about to go way deeper than that, because the real story of who this woman actually is, where she came from, what her life looked like before any of this, and what she truly chose to do with everything she inherited, that story is something else entirely. The numbers are real. The mansion is real. The wealth is real. But so is everything else she quietly built around it. And you simply cannot understand one piece of this without understanding all of it. So let's rewind all the way back to the beginning, to a working-class suburb south of Chicago, and a mother raising 2 sons completely on her own. Carmela Wallace was born on January 1st, 1970. She grew up in the Chicago area, spending her early years in Calumet Park on the south side before eventually relocating to Homewood, Illinois, a quiet south suburb roughly 20 miles outside the city. Homewood is the kind of community where neighbors actually know each other, where summer evenings mean kids playing out in the street, and where Friday nights revolve around the high school football team. It wasn't a wealthy neighborhood. It was a working-class community where people showed up for one another. And that environment shaped both Carmela and her sons in ways that would matter enormously later on. She had 2 boys, Jarad, who the world would eventually know as Juice WRLD, and his older brother, Brian. After separating from the boy's father in the early 2000s, Carmela became the primary parent for both of them. Their father would later pass away in June 2019, just months before Jarad himself would tragically die. But for most of their childhood and teenage years, it was Carmela holding everything together, working professionally, managing the household, and making absolutely sure her son stayed active and engaged. She pushed education hard. She encouraged extracurriculars, and she supported Jarad's growing obsession with music, even when it looked like nothing more than a teenage hobby. He attended Homewood Flossmoor Community High School, where teachers later described him as brilliant, creative, and capable of freestyling effortlessly right in the hallways between classes. One of his chemistry teachers recalled hearing his early music through his headphones long before he ever had a real fan base, and admitted it was mind-blowing to look back on years later. During high school, Jarad also went through counseling, and Carmela has said those sessions gave him the language to express his inner emotional world. He learned how to actually name what he was feeling, and later he carried that skill straight into the recording booth, pouring it into music that connected with an entire generation of young people who were living the same struggles but never had the words for any of it. What Carmela did not fully realize or notice during those quiet years, though, was just how deep and dangerous her son's dependence on prescription painkillers and lean had already secretly grown. That gap between what a mother sees and what a child hides is one of the most painful parts of this story. So here's the thing. Jarad started releasing music in 2015 under the name Juice the Kid, uploading tracks to SoundCloud and building a following through a style that felt like nothing else at the time. He blended emo rock sensibility with hip-hop structure, rapping and singing simultaneously, writing hooks with an instinct most songwriters spend years trying to develop. His lyrics were more confessional than anything in mainstream rap. At just 21, he talked about anxiety, heartbreak, addiction, and the fear of dying young in a way that made kids all over the world feel truly seen. In 2017, he signed to Lil Bibby's Grade A Productions out of Chicago. Lil Bibby and his partner, George Dickinson, discovered Juice WRLD through his SoundCloud output and instantly recognized something rare. That partnership evolved into a joint venture with Interscope Records in early 2018, reportedly worth $3 million, a staggering number for a kid who built his entire buzz on a free platform. But Interscope's executives saw exactly what the data was telling them, and they were right. Within months, Lucid Dreams, built on an interpolation of Sting's Shape of My Heart, was sitting at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and would eventually go diamond. Certified by the RIAA, his debut album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, dropped that same year and went triple platinum. It included All Girls Are the Same, Lean With Me, Wasted, and Armed and Dangerous. That same year, he teamed up with Future for the joint project WRLD on Drugs, expanding his reach into a whole new audience. Then in March 2019, Death Race for Love debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. He won Best New Artist at the Billboard Music Awards that year. He headlined the Death Race for Love tour alongside Ski Mask, the Slump God. He performed at Rolling Loud, sold out arenas, and collaborated with artists ranging from Youngboy Never Broke Again to Ellie Goulding, all before turning 21. Endorsement deals were piling up. His business kept expanding in every direction at once. Behind the scenes, he was recording 3 to 5 songs every single night. His vault reportedly ballooned to over 2,000 fully unreleased tracks. 2,000 songs from a 21-year-old. That vault alone became one of the most financially significant music assets in the entire industry. But before any of it could fully play out, everything came crashing to a halt. And here's exactly where it gets genuinely disturbing and dark. On December 8, 2019, just 6 days after his 21st birthday, Jarad boarded a private Gulfstream jet flying from Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles back to Chicago. Federal agents had reportedly been alerted mid-flight that weapons and narcotics were suspected to be on board. Law enforcement was already waiting at Midway International Airport when the jet touched down at a private hangar just after 1:30 in the morning. Officers boarded the plane and searched the luggage. Inside, they found 70 pounds of marijuana, 6 prescription bottles of suspected liquid codeine, and 3 firearms. Members of his team allegedly told officers that Jarad had swallowed several unknown pills during the flight, Witnesses then described him suddenly seizing while walking through the private hangar. He was bleeding from the mouth. A Homeland Security officer on the scene administered 2 doses of Narcan, attempting to reverse what appeared to be an opioid overdose. He briefly regained consciousness but was completely incoherent. The Chicago Fire Department rushed him to Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn. He was pronounced dead at 3:14 in the morning. He was only 21 years old. On January 22, 2020, the Cook County Medical Examiner officially confirmed the cause of death as oxycodone and codeine toxicity. The manner of death was ruled accidental. The entire music world fell silent. Interscope Records released a statement calling him a gentle soul whose creativity knew no bounds. Tributes poured in from Ellie Goulding, Chance the Rapper, Lil Nas X, and fans in every corner of the globe. His former teachers and classmates at Homewood Flossmoor gave interviews describing the kid they remembered freestyling in the hallways. His former chemistry teacher admitted she simply broke down crying the moment she heard the news. Carmela released a statement asking for privacy, and almost instantly, in the middle of the single most devastating moment of her life, she became responsible for one of the most powerful posthumous music estates ever assembled in hip-hop history. There was no handbook for this. There was no training. One day, she was the mother of a superstar navigating the music industry alongside her son. The very next day, she was the executive of his entire legacy, fielding calls from record labels, attorneys, publishing companies, and business partners, all while simultaneously planning a funeral. A private service was held on December 14th in Harvey, Illinois. That same night, fans gathered at Millennium Park in downtown Chicago for a public memorial near the Bean, the landmark that had become a symbol of Chicago pride. Thousands of people showed up, not because anyone told them to, but because they needed somewhere to carry their grief. That level of public mourning, that raw, emotional response from strangers who never even met Jarad, but felt like they knew him intimately through his music, that is exactly what Carmela inherited alongside the financial estate. She inherited the responsibility of carrying that collective grief, and she took it seriously from day one. Now here's where we finally break down what most people never actually explain. What exactly did she inherit? What are the real numbers behind it? Once Carmela was formally established as executive and primary beneficiary of Juice WRLD's estate, she stepped into a financial picture most people cannot fully comprehend. Her son's catalog was generating tens of millions of streams every single month across Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and every major platform, starting from the very moment he passed. Active revenue streams never stopped. They kept running, and in many cases they grew because of the global attention that followed the tragedy. By early 2023, Juice WRLD had surpassed 30 billion total streams on Spotify alone. 30 billion on one single platform. That number doesn't include Apple Music, doesn't include YouTube, doesn't include Amazon Music, Tidal, or any other service. His monthly listener count has held between 29 and 31 million, numbers most living, actively promoting artists cannot maintain. In 2023, Spotify released its ranking of the 50 most streamed hip-hop albums in the platform's entire history, celebrating 50 years of the genre. Juice WRLD landed 3 separate projects on that list. Goodbye and Good Riddance at number 4, Legends Never Die at number 10, and Death Race for Love at number 13. He also holds the record for the highest average streams per song on Spotify, each individual track averaging roughly 212 million plays. That record belongs to a man who hasn't been alive since 2019. In 2021, the RIAA granted him 50 new platinum and gold certifications in a single announcement. His posthumous album, Legends Never Die, debuted number 1 on the Billboard 200 in 2020. Fighting Demons followed in 2021 at number 2. Then, in early 2022, the estate completed one of the most significant catalog transactions in hip-hop history. Opus Music Group acquired 90% of Juice WRLD's master recording income and 90% of his publishing ownership, in a deal confirmed by Billboard at a 9-figure sum, with multiple industry sources reporting figures as high as $200 million. The deal covered his full release discography plus hundreds of unreleased vault tracks. His annual royalties from publishing and artist income were estimated at a minimum of $9 million at the time of that transaction. $9 million a year just from royalties. And that's a floor, not a ceiling. Because as new generations keep discovering his music, those numbers only climb higher. Real talk. What Carmela inherited wasn't just an estate. It was a machine built to generate wealth indefinitely. And she stepped straight into the driver's seat of that machine while simultaneously planning her son's funeral. For anyone who wants to understand what that kind of wealth actually looks like in the real world, let me paint the picture. In 2022, Carmela Wallace made a real estate purchase that turned heads across the entire Chicago suburban market. She bought a property on Lee Court in Burr Ridge, Illinois, one of the most exclusive residential pockets in the greater Chicago metro area. Burr Ridge isn't a flashy suburb. It's a quiet, private, high-net-worth community where former professional athletes and executives live far away from the cameras. And the property Carmela bought sits right at the absolute top of that market. The main house alone cost $6.9 million. Built in 2016, it spans 17,100 square feet, with 6 bedrooms and 6.5 bathrooms. To put 17,000 square feet into perspective, that's larger than most commercial office floors. We're talking soaring ceilings, custom luxury finishes throughout, multiple grand entertainment spaces, a chef-grade kitchen built for entertaining at scale, private bedroom suites, and a layout designed for the kind of daily life most people only ever see in architecture magazines. The property sits on an exclusive private cul-de-sac where seclusion and heavy security infrastructure come standard at this price point. There's no street traffic, no strangers walking past, just land, privacy, and space. She then purchased the adjacent vacant parcel, roughly 2 additional acres right next door, for $1.4 million, giving her total control over the land surrounding her home and complete privacy on all sides. Combined total, $8.3 million. That single transaction shattered the all-time residential sale record for the entire suburb of Burr Ridge, blowing past the previous record of $2.1 million, set back in 2007 by more than $6 million. The annual property tax bill on the home alone runs $75,000 a year. Neighbors on that same cul-de-sac include former professional athletes, including the property right next door, once owned by former NBA center Eddie Curry. This is truly generational wealth, top 1% living, in one of the most private and exclusive residential pockets in the entire Chicago metro area. And this is where Carmela Wallace wakes up every single morning, a woman who not long ago was a working single mother in Homewood, raising 2 boys entirely on her own. But here's where things get even more interesting, because the mansion is only one layer of how she actually operates now. As executive, she manages ongoing relationships with Interscope Records and Grade A Productions. She personally approves every posthumous release carrying her son's name. She oversees all licensing negotiations, merchandise strategy, and brand partnerships tied to one of the most recognizable names of the entire generation. In December 2021, HBO Max released Juice WRLD Into the Abyss, a full documentary on Jarad's life, struggles, and legacy built through archival footage and interviews with friends and collaborators. That project required her direct trust and sign-off. She decided what the world would see. She controlled the narrative of how her son's story would be told. That's not a small thing. In the spring of 2020, just months after losing Jarad, she launched the Live Free $9.99 Fund, a nonprofit built specifically to support young people struggling with anxiety, depression, and addiction. Carmela has said she received an overwhelming flood of messages from fans worldwide, explaining how Juice WRLD's music had pulled them through their darkest moments. She saw both a responsibility and an opportunity to keep that message alive in a real, concrete way. Live Free $9.99 partners with Crisis Text Line to provide confidential support through text messages, reaching teenagers in a way traditional hotlines often can't. It awards grants to organizations using proven, effective mental health approaches. Carmela also serves on the board of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and speaks publicly at events and podcasts across the country. She said that helping others is part of her own healing process. By continuing to serve people who are struggling the exact same way Jarad once struggled, she stays deeply connected to his purpose. In October 2024, she officially opened Homewood Brewing Company at 18225 Dixie Highway, right in the very community where she raised Jarad. Her son Brian now heads all brewing operations there. The signature beer, Wishing Whale, donates 10% of net proceeds directly to Live Free 999. She isn't just sitting inside that 17,000 square foot home counting money. She is running a full multi-front operation every single day. Now, this isn't only about the wins. We also have to address the messier side because this picture wouldn't be complete without it. Managing posthumous releases for a globally beloved artist is one of the most scrutinized roles in all of music. Every single estate decision gets watched, debated, and picked apart by millions of protective fans online. There have been ongoing controversies about album sequencing, the overall quality of vault releases, and certain commercial partnerships attached to Juice WRLD's legendary name. In 2023, when Juice WRLD's name was suddenly and quietly removed from the cover art of a posthumous collaboration with the Kid Laroi, fans erupted in outrage almost instantly. Laroi himself took to social media to publicly say he had nothing to do with that decision, which only exposed just how complicated and layered the decision-making chain around this estate truly is. Multiple parties are deeply involved, multiple competing business interests collide, and every single call gets amplified instantly on a global scale. Carmela has been brutally honest and direct about the tension she carries. She has said Jarad recorded every single day because it was what he loved most, and that releasing his music remains the most meaningful way to honor that commitment to his fans. But she has also made unmistakably absolutely clear that protecting his artistic integrity is something she will never, ever compromise on. That balance is something she navigates every day, entirely without a playbook. At the end of the day, Carmela Wallace's situation isn't just about a grieving mother who came into money. It's about power, purpose, and legacy. And think carefully about what that actually means in real life. Picture what a single day in her life probably looks like right now. Attorneys calling about licensing agreements, streaming platform conversations about catalog placement and playlist positioning, grant decisions being made at Live Free 9999, brewery operations happening in Homewood, posthumous release approvals requiring her personal sign-off before anything can move forward, media requests from journalists, podcast hosts, documentary filmmakers, anniversary events, Juice WRLD Day festivals, and tribute concerts to coordinate. She has final say on one of the single most valuable music brands in all of hip-hop. Now, most people in that exact position, most people who suddenly land on that kind of wealth, step back, hire people, remove themselves entirely from the day-to-day, and quietly let the money simply work. That is not Carmela Wallace did. She leaned in. She chose to be present. She chose to stay connected to the community, to the fans, and to the mission her son accidentally started the moment he made himself emotionally transparent in his music. And an entire generation responded. She manages one of the highest value rap catalogs of the streaming era. She runs a nonprofit fighting one of the biggest mental health crises hitting young people right now. She opened a community business in the neighborhood that shaped her family. She controls the creative direction of a posthumous career, reaching tens of millions of listeners every single month. And she does all of it while carrying a loss that never fully goes away. The real question is what this story means for the culture going forward. Juice WRLD's music is not fading. Kids who were only 10 years old when he died are teenagers now, discovering his catalog fresh and reciting every word like it was written specifically for them. His estate keeps generating, and at the center of it all stands a 55-year-old woman from Homewood, Illinois, choosing every single day to carry her son's legacy forward rather than let it go cold. So yes, the way she lives is insane, but now you finally understand what that actually means. A 17,000 square foot estate in Burr Ridge, Illinois, sitting on multiple acres, in one of the most exclusive cul-de-sacs in the Chicago metro area, with a property tax bill alone costing more than most people make in an entire year. A music empire tied to a catalog deal reportedly worth over $200 million, generating millions in royalties every single year. A nonprofit foundation built in her son's honor that is actively saving lives right now. A community brew pub in the neighborhood where she raised her family, donating proceeds straight back to that same foundation. a documentary legacy, a board seat at one of the most important suicide prevention organizations in the country, and a posthumous music career still growing, still charting, still reaching new generations of listeners every single month. None of it existed before December 8th, 2019. All of it was built in the years since, out of grief, out of love, and out of a decision to keep moving forward when everything inside her had reason to stop. That's not just insane, that is extraordinary. And now you know the full picture. Not just the headline, not just the mansion, but every layer of what she built, what she manages, and what she silently carries every day. Jarad Anthony Higgins left behind a catalog, a legacy, and a mother who made sure the world would never forget either one. So that's the real story behind the headline. What do you honestly think of Carmela Wallace and everything she's built since 2019? Let us know in the comments. And if this story moved you, hit subscribe so you never miss the next one.